It's 5:30 in the morning and I'm about to go do my garden walkthrough, so I thought I'd bring you guys along. Come on. Good morning, you two. Good morning, guys. Good morning, Annie. That's little Annie. She's the newest member to the homestead. She's a little Australian shepherd. And that's Gus. He's been our faithful farm dog for, I don't know, 11, 12 years now. And he is Annie's dad. He's been such a great dog. I like to do walkthroughs of the garden pretty much every day. This area that we're going to look at right here, you can see it behind me. This is called our Terrace Garden. This is out front in our property. And this garden is a garden that I manage. I pretty much take care of this. Josh manages the main crop garden up behind the house. I don't know why it fell that way, but it's just the way we kind of landed on doing it. So this is my space that I take care of. And we've been doing a few things a little bit differently in here this year. You can see I'm down below the house here. So let's look at the garden. So this space is really for the kitchen garden. And by that, we mean foods that we grab like really fast for the kitchen, for like, you know, today's meal and then tomorrow's meal and then the meal after that, and we're gonna just pop out and grab it. So for us, that's things like greens, lettuces, fresh eating stuff like cucumbers, and then other miscellaneous things. On this side of the garden, we have a lot of kales. I don't know if you can see, those are all different kales right up there. The one exception to kind of the kitchen garden rule out here that we have going on is we have a ton of squash. Now we have a lot of summer squash right here, so that fits in the kitchen garden, but we have a ton of winter squash growing this year, and I'll talk about that in a second. We've got some, I had some bok choys up there. A few of those guys have gone to seed. We had some mustards up there. We got to eat quite a few of those, and those have gone to seed. We've got cucumbers. I think I should have a coffee before I film. We have cucumbers up there that are just for fresh eating. I've got green onions you can kind of see growing up there. We just cleared this space. This had some Napa cabbages in it, and I was totally not happy with them. They went to seed like instantly. They bolted as soon as it got hot this year. Usually the old variety of Napa cabbage that I used to grow, Hilton from Baker's Creek Seeds, those would not do that. They could handle quite a bit of heat. And so I'm gonna go back to those. I didn't save the seed from these because I didn't want anything that just bolted that quickly. So I am gonna go back to the Hilton next year and then start saving seed. Uh-oh, looks like I'm already missing zucchinis. There's a lot of them out here. Okay, down here is the very end of my early spring lettuces that I grew. So these are pretty cold hardy, and we've harvested them literally, I think, 2 times each of these batches, except for that red. That red we just put in, the red over there down at the end. And so we're letting these go to seed so we can harvest the seed from them. So this is great. This represents a lot of meals already had out of this garden. My new lavender, this lavender by these stairs, I just put in last year. And so I'm really happy, even though we had one of the hardest winters like that anybody, even the old timers, can remember around here. My lavender survived. This is a Czech lavender. I needed to get something super hardy. So you can see that top section up there really kind of took a hit with the winter, but some of the rest of it's really coming in really nicely. And where we lost one, like right there, this stuff is all gonna fill in. I might get some replacements, but it's not necessarily easy to find. Okay, so this bed right here is where we're doing our succession beds of lettuce. We've already harvested a lot of this one. This was a greens bed, a Chinese dragon stir-fry mix. And this we've already completely harvested, and we need to get ready to just clean up the bed, recompost it, and get it ready for the next round. Here we have a butter lettuce of some sort. And this is a mix. All of this is ready to be harvested, so we better start eating more salads. This bed, I don't really know what happened, but only half of it came up, so I'm not real sure what happened. So we seed these really thickly. This is a little too thickly. This I have somebody else seeding, and so we're still learning how to not overseed. And then this bed will get planted tomorrow. Pretty much every Wednesday, we make sure to plant another succession row. And then we have one more after that. So we'll weed it and we'll plant it. And then we go back to the beginning. And by that point, some of our beds will be emptied out and composted and ready to start again. So this is kind of what we do. We just keep them going all through the summer. And we just harvest and harvest and harvest. This gives us a big salad every single night of the week for at least 15 people. As long as we keep up our weekly planting, we can still even have some salads for lunches if we want. So this space actually covers a lot, like provides a whole lot of food through the summer, spring, summer, and fall. And each of these little beds is about 5 feet. So we do about 5 feet on each of these guys. The winter squash is starting to grow. Look, there's babies. These are all mixed in, so I have no idea which each variety is. There's pumpkins and butternuts and Hubbards and all sorts of things out here. Okay, so this next row is kind of a place where I can put my miscellaneous stuff. You can see this is cilantro. It's already bolted. We just need to harvest the whole batch of it at this point. And I think for this, I'm just going to go ahead and freeze dry it because it tastes so good when it's been freeze dried. Leeks. Ooh, there's a big leek. Check him out. Wow. So I've been pulling a few of these so we can harvest these whenever we're ready. Swiss chard. I love Swiss chard. I used to try and do a fall planting of Swiss chard. And then I realized here our season's just so short that if I do a fall planting, it's like that the spring planting's still good. So now I just seed a little bit extra in the spring and just get it in. Same thing with the kales. I just stopped trying to do a fall garden and instead put it all in the spring and just continue to eat off of it all the way until harvest time. A little bit more lettuce that we've let to go to seed up here so we can get a good stock of seed. We go through a lot of lettuce seed doing the beds down here, the succession beds. And then a very small, sad patch of basil. So this poor basil, this basil froze twice after June 1st this year. This has been a really hard year for it, and so it's trying. It's also right now competing with some winter squash that's pushing on it, and so it's trying really hard. So we're going with it, we're babying it, and maybe we'll get a little bit of pesto this year. Definitely we'll have some for harvest, for just seasoning, and if we're really lucky, we'll get enough to do a batch in the freeze dryer so that we can have pesto and fresh flavored basil all season. So let's talk about some of the changes that we've got going on in the terrace garden. One of the biggest ones you guys will probably notice is all of the plastic mulch, all of the landscape cloth. This is not something Josh and I like to use a lot of. We're not real happy with it. It really comes down to controlling the grass. I was about to pull my hair out with the way that the grass would grow right up to the garden beds, and then right up to my top beds where I was planting things like lettuce. And then if we let it get beyond us at all without weed whacking it, it would end up getting tall and laying over the lettuces and the different crops that I have growing. and then they couldn't come and weed whack it. I would literally have to go through the entire garden by hand and move the grass back off of the plants so that they could get it cleaned up. It was just way too management intensive. And one thing that Josh and I have really tried to do is every year improve our system so that it's easier to do what we're doing. We are growing food for at least 15 people between our own children and our interns, and then the constant stream of guests we have here, and family from adult children now, and their spouses, to my parents, to different people who are around all the time. And so this is kind of has to operate like a small market garden more than a traditional family garden. It's just so many people that we're growing for. Josh came up with the idea of putting down the landscape cloth over all of the grasses, killing back the grasses. We are in North Idaho, so our grass isn't quite as aggressive as it can be in some other places of the country. So we're going to leave it down for about 2 years, and then we are going to plant very heavily a low-growing clover, non-spreading clover, that can help keep the grasses back. And cross our fingers that that works, because it's just so much grass. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to try and keep up with the grass. So we're working on this idea. We'll see how successful it is. At the moment, it is a huge relief. As much as I'm not crazy about all the black landscape cloth everywhere, it is a huge relief, I have to say. So my answer to that is to take the solar gain that the black cloth is getting us, really absorbs that heat, really heats things up, and to grow a whole lot of winter squash on the faces. One, to help cover up the black cloth, and two, to really grow a lot of food, taking advantage of that heat that we're gaining. So that's why we have so much winter squash out here in the cottage garden. It's going to be great. We're going to have winter squash to eat, but the great thing is a winter squash is a self-storing animal feed. So it's not just for us, which is good, because I think, that feeling of going from abundance to overabundance, where it starts to get stressful to use it all. I think that's what might happen this year, because it looks like it's going to be a really good squash year. We are going to have a lot of squash. So it's a good thing the animals like to eat them too. In the name of controlling the grass, I'll show you what else is going on. And this is up here in the cottage garden. Now it looks a little rough because we've literally just been working on this in the last week or two. It's a little bit messy, but it's going to help a lot. We got a flagstone path. Yay! Josh was so nice to put this in for me. Oh my goodness, isn't this amazing? I'm gonna plant little low-growing creeping thyme all the way through the stones here, and I think it's gonna be absolutely lovely. But this again is back to controlling the grass and making things easier. We put down really deep metal edging. This goes down, this is 8-inch metal edging, and this goes down all the way down to help control the grass flow in the garden, which is just so important right now. This path was all grass, and so it was just, the grass was just going into every bed, and every single year I was spending literally days out here in the spring trying to control the grass so it wouldn't take over my garden beds. So now there are borders everywhere, and we're getting rid of the grass so that it can be a lot easier to manage. The other thing that this means is, because we have the border, we can now fill deep mulch right in all of this nice heavy mulch. One of the things that I struggle with every spring in this garden is where all the plants want to self-sow, which, if you're trying to get herbs to get started, that probably sounds crazy. You're like, oh, I just wish my herbs would self-sow. That's where I was when I started, but at this point, I have enough. I have plenty of herbs out here, and I don't want them self-sowing at will. at this point because I'm literally hoeing out thousands and thousands of herbs every spring. I'm giving away as many as I can to friends, but there's only so many people that want giant patches of elecampane like that one right there. And so the heavy mulch is going to help to reduce that self-sowing. And I'm really excited about that. I just feel like we've made really good progress this year in making sure that everything is getting easier and easier year after year on the homestead. So there we go, you guys. If you want a complete garden tour, you can look back in the records. There's a bunch of them back there. You can check out this video right here.